Dear learners, the last part of our JavaScript that today we are going to cover. So till now we have come across starting from fundamentals, operators, variables, constants, function, user-defined function, different types of objects, especially basic objects, browser objects, window object, document object model. Okay, so in that series that we have come across all the necessary topics to be covered. So in today's session that we are going to cover with a mandatory topic that already we have come across in Java, but with some different orientation here we are going to see. Exception handling. Exception. What is mean by exception? What is the relation between error and the exception? When an abnormal behavior generated during the runtime of a program, it's called an exception. So we have seen a lot of examples where you are going to run with our Java. On a fraction, if the denominator is going to be 0, ultimately it will end up with an undetermined value. That's also an exception. I have an array which has only 5 locations. I'm ready to access the 6th location. That will yield me array index out of bound exception. I have not created a file, but I'm ready to access the contents of the file. It is ready to generate me a file not found exception. I have not instantiated a instance variable to access the method, but I have used it. So null pointer exception will be generated. So that means you have seen a variety of exceptions over there. But pertaining to scripting language, how to use exception. So that's the case, because here we have more number of predefined objects are there. Okay, but in Java we have only a very less percentage of built-in methods. So using customized exception handling, I could able to handle it very easily. But when the number of predefined functions are going to increase, for example, if you come across different types of events, right? Mouse events, keyboard events, form events, window events. So when the number of events are going to increase, we could not be able to predict what type of an unexpected situation will turn up. Okay. So that's a that could be a limitation when more number of predefined functions are going to come. So have a point clear on this. When the number of predefined functions are less, it is very easy for us to handle the exception. Even by using our own customized exception handling, we could do that. But when number of predefined functions, the number of predefined methods are more, it is very difficult for us to handle the exception. We have to align properly and identify the proper exception, and we need to incorporate, right? So otherwise, uh, normally when any exception is going to occur, the output message from the exception block need to give a correct information to the user, right? When more number of exceptions are there in a program, in that case it will supply only one message, so that could be a tough task here. That is the reason why we have to handle this exception properly in the scripting languages. Let us move forward. So before getting into the exception, we could understand the errors. Syntax error. This is basically when we are going to commit any mistake while using the keyword or while we are not following the protocol of the given language. Ultimately, syntax error will occur. Runtime error. That's what here we have discussed. So when the input is not going to satisfy the corresponding logic, ultimately it will generate a runtime error. Logical error. Program will compile, program will run, but will give the wrong result. In that case, I have committed some mistake while creating the logic of the program. That's the logical error. So in Java, right? So here error is also being treated as an object. Error object. Error object is a built-in one again. As usual. As usual, it is having a name and message. Okay, so like our property and value, likewise here we are having name and message, right? So name will give the identifier for the error. Message will convey what is the occurrence of that error, right? So if you are not mentioned semicolon means why you have not mentioned semicolon, or the semicolon is missing, that will be given in the message part. Okay, semicolon is missing. So name can be given as some sort of variable or identifier, could not reach the end of method. So that could be your name. So object, error object consists of two entries. First one is name, second one is message. Name is an identifier, message is the explanation of the identifier. That's it. So these are all the errors that will be, or names of the errors that are being generated by the error object. Eval error, nothing but the evaluation error, right? So whenever if it could not be able to return any value, evaluation function could not be able to return any value, ultimately it will generate eval error. Internal error. So whenever our JavaScript engine got jammed or it could not be able to respond, in that case I will get internal error. Whenever we are facing issues in browser, then only this internal error will occur. Very less, I could able to say 0.001 percentage of this error may occur sometime. That is also if your browser is collapsed or if your browser is crashed. In that case only this internal error will occur. Otherwise it will not occur. Next, range error. Okay. So when it will occur, when I am going to use a particular data type, if the range is going to vary, in that case, ultimately it will generate the range error if it is out of the range. Okay, reference error. That's what, whenever I'm going to access the invalid reference, I have not created, I have not instantiated. So in that case, it will ready to generate an invalid reference. Syntax error. So we know that if we are going to miss any regular components that what we are using in our scripting, ultimately it will generate me the syntax error. Next, type error, right? So type error is nothing but the type of data what I am going to store in the variable must be relevant to the data type what I have used. That's it. If it is going to violate this condition, it will generate type error. Okay, URI error. Okay, uniform resource identification. So URI error. So when this URI error will occur, so whenever so it is ready to access the remote location or ready to access some location. So in that case, I will communicate with that method using the URI parameters only. So when the parameters are not, for example, I need to pass for that function, I need to pass two arguments, but I am passing only one argument. In that case, URI error will be generated. Okay, sufficient number of parameters I have not passed. So in that case, URI error will be generated. So these are all the predefined errors from the error object. So to handle such type of errors and exceptions, here we have, as usual in our Java, but here we don't have thrown. Instead we have throw. Okay, throw. I could be able to use try catch, finally. We will see one by one. So in this program, try catch, you could be able to see the try block. So which logic which may generate exception, that must be given within the try block. which logic which may generate exception that must be given within the try block. I assume that this code snippet will generate my exception. That is the reason why I have given within the try block. Okay, what is the user? What is the message that need to be given to the user that must be given within the catch block whenever any exception is raised? It should not convey the system message. It has to convey the user defined message. Then only user could be able to understand that message, and he or she will change the corresponding logic in the program. Okay, so that's the thing. So here we have an array. This array is a string array. It consists of 7 elements over there, right? I am ready to write that array. I am ready to display the values of the element A. Next, I am ready to display a value from B, but I have not declared B, right? I have not declared B, but I am ready to access B. Okay, in this place, it is ready to generate an exception. Okay, so document.write of B will ready to generate an exception. That exception will be catched by the catch block, and it will generate a alert. Alert means a message box will be generated with the corresponding message what we have given, right? So program itself will handling the exception instead of the process of exception handling done by the compiler, done by the script engine is void here. We are not allowing the script engine to perform exception handling. We are performing exception handling, and we are generating our own error message. By saying that error message, we could understand that okay, we have not declared B, but we are ready to access B. So by that I have to declare an array for B, otherwise I have to remove that statement. Ultimately, exception will not occur if I am going to do such type of things. Anyway, if I am going to give such type of things, the program will handle the exception and it will generate its own message, right? That's a very good example for try catch example. Throw statement, right? I'll suggest you, if you want to use throw whenever you are going to create any new exception, whenever you are going to create any new error, in that case you can use throw statement, right? If you are going to create your own user defined error object, or if you are going to access any error objects from the predefined errors from the error object, in that case you can use throw, right? So if you are going to throw, the corresponding message will be received by the catch block. Catch block will generate the corresponding user's message. Okay, so the throw statement must be given within the try block. Yes, so ultimately you can create your own error, right? You can create your own error. You can customize your error. If such type of errors are going to occur, that can be throw, because if it is a script generated error, means script engine will have the idea that can be handled through try catch. Okay, you wrote some code and you are generating some error, means that error must be handled by that must be identified by your code only. That is the reason why it is very good to customize your own error and generate it and throw it. That's what the role of throw keyword is. It is used to throw the error created by yourself, right? A user defined error. It is used to throw the message from the user defined error. That's the usage of the throw keyword. Anyway, the message thrown by the user defined error will be received by the catch block. It will interpret and it will convey its own message to the user in a known form. That's the ultimate thing from the throw statement. So throw statement will be used when we are going to throw a new error from our code. Finally, try catch finally statements. What is the purpose of finally? That we have to understand. Even though exception occurred in our code snippet or not, if code has any exception stage or not, if exception occurred in my program or not, I need some code need to be executed. Exception may occur or may not occur. It's not the problem, but ultimately some part of the code must be executed. such part of the code has to be given within the finally block. That's it. Very clear. So the code which need to be executed at any case, even though exception have occurred or not, such type of mandatory codes need to be given within the finally block. That's the thing. That's the role of finally usage. Okay, so that's the major role of finally block. Already we have seen try catch. Right. So if any exception have occurred within the try block, ultimately that will be caught by the catch block. Catch will display its own message. After that, what will happen? Finally block will get to be executed. If no exceptions have occurred within the try block, the logic within the try block will get to be executed. Catch block will not be executed. The output from final block will execute. At any case, if exception occurred, exception will be handled, final block will be executed. If exception not occurred, logic will be executed, final block will be executed. At any case, final block will be executed. That is the role of finally block. The closing slide. So why I have given this here? So the part of exception handling over, but I have introduced this program intentionally to understand. So do not worry about more on dates, right? Because you have some logical building relevant to these dates will come. So in that case, how to manage that? So if you want to compare dates using relational operators, you can compare. It's very easy here. This type of facility is available in scripting. So using the date object, I could able to get two dates, D1 and D2. If I need to compare which date is going to come first, which date going to come second, in that case, simply by using a relational operator, I could able to find it out. Here we are using greater than and less than. By that, I could able to find it out which date will come first and which date will come second. So that comparison can be done very easily using relational operators pertaining to date object. Okay. So please remember, in date object, if we want to compare two dates, using a date object, I have to create two objects. The two objects can be compared using relational operator. Right? So that's enough. That could be the major thing. So to revise about today's learning, we have come across what is an exception, what is an error, what are all the predefined errors are available, what does the error object consist of, name and message. So what are all the exception handling mechanisms available in scripting engine? So we have try catch, we have throw, and we have try catch finally. Okay, so these are all things we have come across. Along with that, we have seen how to compare the two dates, right? So by that, the portion of JavaScript was completed, and we will insert JSP or servlet by the next session. Thank you. Happy learning.